I would like to respond or cast what you said, which I loved, in a slightly different light, because you talked about feeling kind of boxed in as an artist, and I've heard that long before the Egyptian Revolution. I'm hearing from Lebanese friends, I can't do a movie that isn't about war, and having these kinds of expectations, and I'm sympathetic. I want to talk about a different kind of boxing in and a different kind of audience. I take as kind of the goal for what I'm trying to do something that the Nigerian novelist Wole Soyinka said. He said this at a White House conference on cultural diplomacy in 2000. He said, "Culture humanizes while politics demonizes." And he said, I wonder what the relationship, this was in 2000, between the United States and the West and the Middle East might be if we used culture as more of a prism than politics. And that is something that I try to do from my base in Washington, D.C. And I do this with a huge amount of respect for the power of the art. So not to box you in, but rather to really recognize the transformative power of the arts. And unfortunately, in Washington, we have very clear boxes, which is that politics and policy is very serious stuff. It is important. Culture is over here, very nice, something to do when you have free time, or you're on vacation. It has nothing to do with the real stuff. And I experienced this when I went to the Netherlands, and I'm privileged to serve under President Clinton. And this was the period when the State Department was in the process of drastically cutting, practically eliminating culture. At least they eliminated the separate agency. Now culture is back, as you know, from very active cultural attaches here, but it's inside the State Department. And I was greeted by my cultural affairs department when they said to me, the head of it said to me, "We don't do culture, we do policy." Unfortunately, she found the one ambassador in the entire world who really cared about culture, coming from an art history background. But that had been drilled into her. What policy is important, culture is not important. Justify culture, justify culture. And I'm trying to fight that. So I'm showing you, for example, this image, set of images from the novel and the film, the Yakubian building. I'm doing that because I think that these serious policy people should pay much more attention to culture as how they understand countries and regions and approach them. And I would argue to you that this is actually central to the very serious things of security, etc. For example, anyone who had read the Yakubian building, the most translated novel out of Egypt in the last 10 years, or seen the film, which was widely distributed, would not be surprised that the revolution took place. The surprise is, why didn't it happen sooner? And for those of you who are not familiar with the novel, it tells the story of multiple lives in Cairo through people living in the building, from the very poor people living on the roof of the building to very wealthy people. But every single person is frustrated in his or her life, can't advance because of the dysfunctionality of society, the corruption, various different factors.